Jaron Boots Ennis signs to Matchroom boxing. Eddie Hearn has big plans for Jaron Boots Ennis. Says that he's focusing his energy on trying to facilitate a fight between him and Terrence Bud Crawford. So he signs Jaron Boots Ennis to a multi-fight deal. Some fans are a little bit pushed to the side, and let's just keep it 100 disappointed with Jaron Ennis's move. I don't subscribe to that. But what's next for Jaron Boots Ennis? Outside of a Terrence Crawford fight, which would be the biggest fight of his career, an opportunity to potentially becoming undisputed champion in his weight class, or maybe even, attain a title in the 154 pound weight class. There are other opportunities to also make him more of an international name. Eddie Hearn also saying that he's interested in showcasing him in Philadelphia and having him headline a card there. So a lot of possibilities for Jaron Boots Ennis, but let's get a little deeper into it. Let's break it down. It's your boy Claymore Rain. It's that A.T.P Combat Media Show. Let's go.
They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate.
Salute, A.T.P Combat Media. It's your boy Claymore Rain back at y'all with another one. Salute to all my subscribers. Much appreciative to the loyalty and all my subscribers, the best subscribers in the game. If this is your first time tapping into this content, go ahead and hit the bell icon to make sure that you're getting alerts when all this content is dropping. So news comes out 2 days ago. I think it was about 2 days ago, right? That Jaron Boots Ennis has actually gone ahead and decided to make it public that he's made a decision to move forward with Matchroom Boxing. Now, if you guys watch some of my old content, you'll see that I was speaking as to why I thought Jaron Boots Ennis, it would make more sense for him to head in that direction than dealing with an Eddie Hearns, because of just all the access that Eddie Hearns has to like resources like Turkey Al-Sheikh and things of those nature. Just activity more so pointing in that direction as to how activity seems to be plaguing boxing right now, with some of the best fighters right now not being able to remain active. Activity sharpens the skills, keeps the momentum going forward, and keeps these fighters where we want to see them, which is in the ring, right? Well, it got a little bit quiet, coming to find out a little bit later that Cameron Duncan, his actual manager, actually had passed away, and that actually there was a separate deal going on between himself, Cameron Duncan, and Showtime. Showtime being more specific towards Steven Espinosa, right? So after Showtime went ahead and was bought out by Paramount, and Paramount decided to get out of the boxing business, they didn't want any parts of that. Obviously, we know that PBC moved forward to doing a deal with Amazon Prime. And a lot of people were thinking that they were expecting Boots Ennis to naturally go with Steven Espinosa seems to be affiliated with, which is PBC, right? Well, that PBC and Amazon have been, ironing out their deal, and although supposedly everything is signed, set and delivered, what have we seen from PBC this year? We've seen one huge event, and we got to give PBC their credit on that event that they had. Was probably the biggest event of the year thus far as production is concerned, and as far as a stacked card is concerned, talent wise. But also keeping in mind that we understand that that PBC has a huge roster of fighters, and that although that was a pay-per-view event they put up there, a lot of people question as to whether or not it was really pay-per-view worthy event. Now, clearly with hindsight, we can go ahead and say that the event was great. I paid for the event to see the event. There were some changes made in the event that made it look a little bit more attractive. When they first started, it was going to be a catchweight fight between Keith Thurman and Tim Tszyu. No title on the line. Keith Thurman, who hadn't fought in over 2.5 years. It just didn't make sense, especially for a headliner on a pay-per-view card. It seemed even the co-headliner made more sense to be a headliner than the actual headliner deserved to be a headliner. But as a change came up in the injury that Keith Thurman had, went ahead and moved Sebastian Fundora up into contention with Tim Tszyu, making it a full-blown super welterweight fight. And there were actually titles on the line: Tim Tszyu's title and a vacated WBC title that turned the fight into a unification fight. And that, in my opinion, threw some paint on the wall of the fight that they were trying to promote, or the pay-per-view event that they were trying to promote. More importantly, that ended up being a success. The undercard performed as we expected it to. There was actually Isak Cruz stepped up and showed that he had a huge, way bigger fan base than I thought he really had, or understood that he had. It was a great event. That being said, I digress to say that Jaron Boots Ennis clearly was weighing his options once he sued and got out of the agreement that he was in with Cameron Duncan, that he was now transferred over to Cameron Duncan's wife. He was able to get out of that agreement. Everybody was wondering where he was going to go. Now, moving a little bit more forward to say that Canelo Alvarez also was in some sort of negotiation that at one point had everybody believing that Canelo might be leaving the PBC, because it seemed like the PBC wasn't able to fulfill whatever agreement that Canelo and the PBC had came into agreement with about how they were going to move forward. Coming full circle, Canelo did ultimately come back to the PBC, and an event was locked in between him and what we know to be Jaime Munguia. That's going to be on May 4th for the Cinco de Mayo weekend. Rumors are going around that Jaron Boots Ennis was actually going to be on that card. Whether I'm not saying he was going to be a co-main event, but somewhere on the actual main event card, and that seemed to be a great thing for Jaron Boots Ennis to finally be able to get on a main event card, potentially close to a co-main event status. It looked like the PBC and Jaron Boots Ennis were maybe showing signs of working something out to where Jaron Boots Ennis would get the attention he needed. Keeping in mind also that Jaron Boots Ennis emailed a championship that he would have way much rather would have fought for, but wasn't able to because Terrence Crawford just has no interest in fighting Jaron Boots Ennis. What it would seem from the outside looking in, once again, to be more so about money. Now, there'll be different opinions out there, and you'll hear different perspective on it. Some people will say that that Terrence Crawford is ducking Jaron Boots Ennis and scared to fight him. Me in particular, I'm not really co-signing or subscribing to that idea. I really think once you get to a certain point in this boxing game, that fear thing is a very insignificant topic, right? Just doesn't hold any value, because even inside of fear, you're still going to act on what you're supposed to do for your legacy. And I just don't think there's any fear there between Terrence Crawford or on the Jaron Boots Ennis side. I think there were just some misaligned opportunities. The stars were not aligned for Jaron Boots Ennis, just a little bit an era or a generation back from Terrence Crawford, just on the borderline to where Terrence Crawford is moving forward in his career to make the biggest prize fights. He's already, as far as legacy is concerned, done so many big things. Legacy is just not going to be the only thing to drive him anymore. It's going to have a lot of money involved in it to make sense to him. Jaron Boots Ennis not being, in my opinion, promoted correctly or pushed correctly to be an enough fight to make himself have a certain value in the market that would be beneficial to Terrence Crawford, just wasn't going to be able to knock that fight down. But at the same time, Terrence Crawford holding on to those other three belts still had plenty of implications for Jaron Boots Ennis to want to push forward and have a fight with Terrence Crawford. After all, that would give him an opportunity to go straight into undisputed. And in my opinion, a fighter like Jaron Boots Ennis, who is a big 147 pounder, would probably have aspirations at some point after accomplishing whatever he wants in that welterweight division to moving up to a division where he's not doing such strain worthy weight cuts, being at 154. He's a big guy. He could probably even go up to like 160 one day. We never know, right? So it didn't work out that way, clearly. And on top of that, Terrence Crawford leaving the PBC, having that one fight deal that included a rematch clause with Errol Spence, which went away, pretty much put him as a free agent at that point. And Terrence Crawford floating around looking for his next opportunity, actually activated a mandatory with Tim Tszyu at the time, who at the time was a WBO champion. And he pretty much activated a mandatory so that after that Sebastian Fundora-Tim Tszyu fight, he'd be next in line to challenge for those titles. We all know PBC sent Errol Spence into this equation. People could have their own opinions, once again, about whether or not it was purposely done, whether there was some malice intent. Who knows why it was done? But ultimately, more importantly, outside of the reason of why it was done, what it actually caused and what it affected, which was Terrence Crawford's chances of locking in that fight. Moving forward again, you're hearing rumors of potential fights that Terrence Crawford may be trying to coordinate, as there are rumors out there that Terrence has been in communication with the Saudis, in particular Turki Al-Sheikh, His Excellency, about potential fights. And maybe a Canelo Alvarez fight at one time may have been part of a conversation that Terrence was a part of, or maybe even fights with some big European stars like what's going around, maybe a Conor Ben, or maybe even what I'm hearing right now is a title fight with the current, let me see if I can get his information just to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. One of the fighters right now down there in Matchroom, hold on one second. Let's look it up, that way we can just be more accurate about it. Let's be more accurate about it. And one more, maybe two more. And here we are. You're right. Here he goes right here. This fight right here between Matchroom with Israel Matchroom, who seems to be currently the actual, I want to say IBF and WBA champion. Let's see where he's at in that division right now. Let's just be a little clearer about where he is. I'll let me know. But he is sitting on some titles right now, and it looks like they might be trying to coordinate a fight between him and Terrence Crawford to put his titles on the line for Terrence Crawford. So there's a lot of things manifesting in the division right now around that. And really for Boots Ennis, presently, who we're speaking about right now, who's now signed a deal with Matchroom, has a lot of opportunities in front of him that he can take advantage of, right? Well, clearly, Eddie Hearn understands that he needs to keep him active, and Eddie Hearn's already came out in an interview he did, if not today, yesterday, saying that he had a lot of plans for Jaron Boots Ennis, that he wants to keep him very active, that he also wants to tap into the Philadelphia market and have him headlining something in Wells Fargo for Philadelphia to come out. And I think Philadelphia will support Jaron Boots Ennis. He's got to be the biggest star in Philadelphia right now. If it's not him, I'd argue finding somebody else. If you guys want to, let me know in the comments of a bigger star in Philadelphia than Jaron Boots Ennis. So he's well vested in the idea of developing Jaron Boots Ennis, which is what he needs. And of course, that's going to attract the ears of a Jaron Boots Ennis who understands that they have the resources to invest into Jaron Boots Ennis. Eddie Hearn's also been a person who everybody knows is willing to cross promote. He works with other promoters in the game that are willing to work with him. He's even gone as far as to let fighters go and chase legacy. An example being in Devin Haney, who he allowed to leave, go to Top Rank, sign a 3-fight deal to go to Australia twice, and ultimately fight Lomachenko in his last fight, just to see Devin Haney come back. So when you're dealing with somebody like an Eddie Hearn from Jaron Boots Ennis' point of view, it gives you an opportunity to also have some independence, to not be just stuck and locked down to one promotional company. He can do a lot of different things. And then there's that one degree of separation that he has between him and Turki Al-Sheikh, with Eddie Hearn in the middle, being that we all understand that Turki Al-Sheikh has done a lot of work with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn may have been one of the biggest promoters and supporters of what Turki Al-Sheikh is trying to do in Riyadh. Turki Al-Sheikh very interested in making the biggest fights possible. You never know what kind of opportunities are going to sit there. You don't know if Turki Al-Sheikh is not thinking about putting Terrence against Boots. Him and Terrence are having conversations about other opportunities outside of Canelo Alvarez that fell through, obviously. So him and Boots coming way closer into making a fight, maybe even at 147. Maybe Terrence Crawford sits and holds those 3 belts and gives Boots and Ennis an opportunity at undisputed. There's so many different things that are possible, even though right now we're hearing that Boots is going to be more so concerned about fighting his mandatory, which I believe right now is Cody Crowley. Then after that, potentially fighting maybe a Conor Ben, which is going to give him a big international look. Conor Ben, you guys may not know him like that well in the States, but I can tell you in the UK, he's a big star and a big deal. Now, Conor Ben does have some PED things that he's dealing with in England and UK, but look, one of the advantages of being friends with Turki Al-Sheikh is that he can go into Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and showcase there, or even somewhere in the United States, maybe even in the Nebraska area, where Terrence Crawford is sure to sell out the stadium, and we'll see how the pay-per-view does. But more importantly, with Turki Al-Sheikh, he's going to get a premium dollar. He's going to get paid very well for these opportunities. And meanwhile, you have Jaron Boots Ennis, who's currently right on the front page of Eddie Hearn's website right now, And you can tell that Eddie Hearn is overly excited about an opportunity to help develop a fighter like that, which is a damn shame at this point, 30 plus fights into the game that Jaron Ennis is at, and a high like 80 to 90% knockout ratio, that whoever was managing him didn't put more and invest more into developing him as a superstar fighter. This deal he seems to have with Eddie Hearn is going to be pointing in that direction to help develop him in the way he's supposed to be. We should see a more active, hopefully a more active, and I'm pretty confident a way more active Jaron Ennis, gets him more money, gets him more exposure. Who knows what can lead from that, being that we are expecting, a lot of people, including myself, are expecting Jaron Ennis to be one of the most dominant pound-for-pound best fighters in boxing today, anywhere in between 130 to 154 pounds. So the opportunities are endless. Jaron Ennis also spoke very upfront and frankly about him being willing to fight anybody, whether it's at 147 or 154. And I've been an advocate to hopefully see Jaron Ennis move to 154, being that at 147, it just seems like the opportunities aren't there for him anymore. The fighters don't seem to want to fight him. He's a big guy, not tall per se, but as far as density, as far as muscle wise, as far as what he probably walks around on a day-to-day basis, he probably is and he's a big puncher, right? So a lot of people don't want to fight him at 147 pounds, but he's not shut down when he goes over there with Eddie Hearn, because he can go up to 154 to compete and do some legacy fights possibly that are going to get him richer, maybe even get into title contention up there to have an opportunity to chase undisputed at 154 pounds. So many things open up. When you look at the fact that he's gone over to Matchroom, what you're going to see is that the possibilities and options are going to widen, right? There's so many things he can do. He can cross promote with Top Rank. He can cross promote with Queensberry. He can even do things with PBC. PBC's open into it. Eddie Hearn is flexible that way, and obviously he has Turkey Al-Sheikh as well that he has access to, so the opportunities are there for him as well. So kudos to that team. Bozy, Jaron Ennis, everybody over there in that gym. I think this is a great move. You guys let me know in the comments what you think, though. What's next for Jaron Ennis at this point? And also, was this the best move he can make? Do you guys think he should have gone to the PBC? And tell me if you think he should have gone to the PBC, why? What opportunities were there? What did you see happening for him at the PBC that can't happen at Matchroom? I know there's a lot of welterweight fighters over there at the PBC, but right now the PBC doesn't own the titles. Terrence Crawford has the titles. He's not a fighter for the PBC. He's independent and looks like he's doing a lot of negotiating with Turkey Al-Sheikh. And keep in mind that 3 fights that he tried to coordinate, one being with Cody Crowley the first time, ended up not going through because of some surgery or health issues that Cody Crowley was going through. Mario Barrios, who was supposed to be somebody who he was fighting against, who's actually going to be fighting on the undercard of Canelo Alvarez and not fighting him, but did say that he had to fall back from fighting against Jaron Ennis because he was having a child. Right, that didn't go through. And then you have Stanionis, who basically has stated that he's not interested in fighting Jaron Ennis. Some people would speculate just because of the title situation, being that they might be waiting for Terrence Crawford to vacate some titles, just to be fighting for a real title rather than an interim title. Who knows? But at the end of the day, too many opportunities to set this man up and have him fight, and he wasn't able to do that. Here comes Eddie Hearn, coming from the back room, saying, I could be a Huckleberry. I'll put it together for you. I have big ideas and big plans for you, and I can assure you I'm going to be able to get you paid top dollar as well. Which way should he go at that point? But let me know if you agree or disagree. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hey, guys, I'm going to remind you guys, please remember, courtesy of Charles Edward Cheese, we are offering a $25,000 giveaway. Once this channel goes over 1,000 subscribers, I will be picking one of my subscribers randomly, and the winner will be getting $25,000 cash. That's cash, $25K, no cap, no bait and switch. Just keeping it 100 with you, right? Just keeping it 100 with you. So let's help the channel grow, and more importantly, give me an opportunity to really show some charity to one of my subscribers. I know $25K would change somebody's whole trajectory of what's going on in their lives. Inshallah, it'll go to the right person who actually needs it the most, but it will be random. So, remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you're thinking about them. But at that point, it's your boy Claymore Rain. It's that ATP Combat Media Show, and we out.
Elevate, They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate.